And we're back with Girl Talk with DeYonne Parker. DeYonne is going to show us how to get our swag back. What's the first step to getting our swag back, DeYonne?
Girl, I'm so glad you asked me. Now, you remember last time when I was on here, I told you and your viewing audience that I had my master's degree in faking, fooling, and fronting, right? Now, yeah, I earned that degree because I lost my self-confidence in a certain season in my life. And through that walk, God gave me, girl, get your swag back. Now, the first step on our soul-freeing journey, because that's what it is, it's a soul-freeing journey, is how do we regain our self-confidence? Now, I always start with a question. So my question, who are you really behind the mask? Y'all know what mask I'm talking about. The mask that truly hides who you really are from your life circle. So the mask that we put on that hides everything that's going on. Now, in my days of faking, fooling, and fronting, I had a mask. My mask looked like this. It was beautiful. I mean, diamond studded, bling blinged out. I perfected this. But really, ladies, this is still just a mask. It hid everything. Now, when we talk about regaining our self-confidence, it means for us to really examine ourselves. Turn that light on yourself to understand why are you putting on that mask. What's going on that you have to feel like you have to put your self-confidence on the shelf? God's not interested in your hips, lips, or even the tips of your toes. He knew who he made when he created you. So why are we giving our self-confidence away to self-doubt and to other people and their opinions? And like I like to say, Shanae Jenkins. I mean, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that we give our self-confidence away to things that are superficial and doesn't matter. God is not caring anything about that. He simply wants your attention. He simply wants you to know who you are and whose you are. So it's really time for you to examine your self-confidence. Now, Jackie, I have a little challenge that I'd like to introduce to your audience, if I may.
Okay.
So during this swag session, and your task, if you so choose to accept it, and I hope that you will, your challenge is to examine who you are. And I'd like for you to write a little advertisement about yourself. One that says who you are from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, and to be able to recite that in the mirror, your advertisement of who you are. That's really one of the steps of understanding how to get your self-confidence back, but really understanding your self-worth. So really wanted to understand how to get that swag back. There it is. Really?
I like that.
There it is.
I like that, DeYonne. I want to get my swag back. For you to find out more about getting your swag back and how to contact DeYonne, go to JackieBrownProductions.com. Get your swag back. And we're back with more Girl Talk with DeYonne Parker. Last week, we found out how to get our self-confidence as part of our swag. This week, what are we going to find out today, DeYonne?
We are going to talk about how to get our walk with God back. Yes, our walk with God. So you know, Jackie, that I always start with a question, right?
Okay, yeah, I do.
So my question to you is, what does your walk look like? Now, let me be clear. I'm not talking about how you strut, stroll, or slide across the floor. I'm talking about your walk with the Most High. Now, these are some fabulous shoes. I know you see them. I know you see them. So this is how I get my walk on. But my walk with God looks totally different. It's not the same as yours. It's not the same as anybody's, and it shouldn't be. It's unique to you. Now, there was a time in my life where I put God on the shelf. Actually, I totally broke up with him. Now, and walked away. Now, what I would like to ask, again, is what does your walk look like? My son, when he was 4 years old, he asked me a question about how big are God's feet? What size shoe does he wear? And I had to ponder and think about that. And I asked myself that same question. I said, you know, God has to have some pretty big shoes in order to keep up with all his kids. But why is it that we always seem to try to fill God's shoes?
Oh, my gosh.
Now, we fill it with artificial things that don't even fit into what we're trying to do. So what I like to call those are artificial fillers. Now, it doesn't satisfy the soul, but we still continue to do it. Now, when we think about our walk with God, it needs to be one that we're cultivating and really replenishing and restoring and renewing. So how do you do that? Now, something you said to me one time, Jackie, was, you know, you needed a me moment. I take my me moments and I do it in my diva den. A diva den. Now, everybody asks me, what is a diva den? That's where I go and spend time with God. I cultivate my relationship. It's my space. It's where I get in there and paint my toes, say my prayers, totally just get in the moment with Him. And that's where I start with my walk to God. So as we go down this swag session and how to get your walk with God, your challenge today is, where do you spend your time with Him? How do you give Him your attention? Do you have a diva den? Where's your me moment? So I would love for you to think about that, and that is you being empowered and how to get your swag back.
That's some good stuff, DeYonne. I'm just sitting here listening. I'm thinking about my den, you know. That's some good stuff. I'm loving this. I'm loving learning how to get my swag back, because, you know what, I didn't even know I didn't have my swag, you know?
Right. Now, a lot of us don't know that we even lost our swag. And that's one of the things that, I mean, really is key, is to really understand that where you lost it, right? And one of the biggest things that we do when we talk about the walk with God is that we think that we can totally take over. I was the biggest fixer that you could ever see. I thought, you know what, God, I don't have time. I'm going to walk this out without you, because I thought that's what I could do in my life. And I tried it, but you know I failed, right?
Okay.
You know I failed.
So what's your walk with God like? Did you get your swag back yet? Keep listening. Keep listening. Go to JackieBrownProductions.com to find out more. We're back with DeYonne Parker on getting our swag back. So far, we found out how to get our self-confidence back. Then we found out how to get our walk with God back. DeYonne, what are we going to find out today?
Well, Jackie, this is our third stop on the Soul Freeing journey. So this time, we're going to talk about our attitude of gratitude. Now, you know I always start with a question, right?
Right.
Okay. So my question is, are you a drainer or a driver? Is your attitude draining or driving the people that are around you? Now, again, we always have to take an introspective look at who we are, right?
Right.
So this time, you know, my introspective look, and again, this always goes back, I have to turn to myself, is take a real good look at your attitude. Do an attitude check. Now, when you think about your attitude and asking that question about, are you a drainer or a driver? If you are constantly talking about all the time the things that are, you know, going on, not that you can't share, right? Not that you can't share with people, but anytime that somebody asks you how you doing and your first response is, well, let me tell you about, well, let me tell, that is the draining attitude, right?
Okay.
The driving attitude is one that encourages and empowers other people and is infectious and wants other people to, you know, be around you. That's a driving attitude. So let's talk a little bit about adjusting our attitude.
Okay.
Now, my mother always talks about how she goes to get her spine adjusted. I don't know if anybody else has ever had a spine adjustment. She raves about it. And she says when you go and get your spine adjusted, everything else is in line, right? And when you don't, you're out of alignment. The same thing goes for our attitudes.
Love it.
Our attitudes, when they're not showing up the way, again, as a driving attitude, everything else does not feel good in our lives. We begin to fall apart a little bit because our attitudes are all about choice. You can choose how you show up and how you react to what goes on with you and what goes on around you. So when I think about attitudes, I always think about if we had a camera attached to us every single day of our lives, what would that look like?
Oh, my.
What would that look like for you? Would it look a little schizophrenic? I mean, for me, I'm sure people would probably think that at certain times it would. So it's an attitude check. We have to adjust our attitudes. And when we think about that, it's about being grateful. It's really thinking about the things in our lives that we appreciate and being content in that moment. God takes us through things that builds our character every single day. But when we think about how we show up and how we're representing the Father, our attitudes are right up front. So again, I'm going to issue a swag challenge.
Okay.
So my challenge to you is I want you to ask 3 people to rate your attitude randomly. 3 people in your life about how your attitude is showing up. Are you a drainer or are you a driver? It's up to you.
To find out more about getting your swag back, go to JackieBrownProductions.com. And we're back with more Girl Talk with DeYonne Parker. We're learning how to get our swag back. So far, we've gotten our self-confidence, our walk with God, and our attitude of gratitude. DeYonne, what are we going to get back today?
Okay, so let's take this soul-freeing journey to an end. Well, I shouldn't say an end because it's a continuous effort. It's a continuous walk because I continue to work on my swag every chance I get. So the last stop on our journey is God-given gifts and talents. Now, I'm going to start with a question. You know that. You know it's coming. So my question regarding your God-given gifts and talents is, are you stuck? Are you stuck? When you think about your gifts, I mean, they're beautiful. And I always think about my gifts as what my daddy gave me because they come from the Lord. So my gifts are not for me to hide and put on a shelf somewhere. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, we all have roles that are attached to our names. I can go down the list of all of my roles, and I love every last one of them. But I truly believe that God does not think that, I mean, really, does not say, hey, I want you to just sit on your gifts and don't use them for the world. I gave you some gifts. I need you to use them, right? I believe that that's what he wants us to do with them. So it's not about just being submissive to the roles that are in your life, because that's important, but it's not being dismissive to the gifts and talents that God has given you as well. So when I think about our gifts, there's a couple of different things that happens when we talk about our gifts, right?
Yeah.
I see a lot of us trying on other people's gifts. Now, let's just chat and sit on that for just a second. Now, my sister and I, we look just alike. We talk alike. This is my youngest sister. We walk alike. We even share the same profession. But where we differ are our shoes. Now, I would look crazy trying to walk in her shoes because, I mean, let's just say it, my sister's feet are bigger than mine. She would look crazy trying to walk in mine. So why is it that we always look and see people trying to walk in other people's gifts? And I like to say, if the gift don't fit, don't wear it. It's not yours. God has given each one of us fantastic, fabulous gifts, and we need to think about those gifts and how we walk in those. And there's a due season for your gift, a due season. Sometimes your season may be just to be wife and mother and all, you know, those wonderful roles that God has given us. And those are huge roles, and we're gifted in those areas. And there's other times where God calls our gift to show up on a different platform. So Jackie, when I think about our due season, I can tell you, some of us have used our gifts in the wrong season.
That's right.
And some of us have had a season where God has called our gifts and we didn't answer the call. I don't know about you, but I don't want to ever miss God in the season that he calls me to use my gift.
Okay.
So when I think also about being stuck, I'm a Midwestern girl, and I've been stuck a time or two in the snow trying to back myself up.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need a push.
You need a push.
So I'm going to talk about this swag session and give you another challenge. My last challenge to you is, where are you stuck? Where do you need to get a push? And if you need that push, I need you to look to the left and to the right of you. And that sister that's walking in her gift, you need to find out how she's doing it. How is she walking in her gift, and where can you connect yourself?
Find out more about getting your swag back at JackieBrownProductions.com.